Yeah, good day, and thank you for joining us today. Today, we are going to discuss about the scientific benefits and health benefits of Gayatri Mantra and Gayatri Homam on brain health and longevity. So, let's start. What is the significance of Upanayanam in the Art of Living Ashram? Yes, Jagadev, thank you for joining us today. So, Upanayanam is not merely a ritual of wearing the sacred thread, it's a profound initiation into responsibility and awareness in the art of living under His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Jesus' guidance. Children and adults of all castes are initiated into Gayatri Mantra and Trikalsandhya. From a scientific standpoint, this practice helps anchor the brain into structured routines, which supports neuroplasticity. Studies in developmental neuroscience suggest that rituals and repetitive chants improve the default mode network DMN stability, enhancing self regulation and emotional balance. The thread or Yajnopavita itself serves as a reminder of one's dharmic duties, creating positive reinforcement loops in the brain's prefrontal cortex, where moral reasoning resides. Early initiation also strengthens memory circuits in the hippocampus as chanting mantras daily embeds linguistic and rhythmic patterns. Thus, the ceremony is not just cultural, it is an early training of the brain to align with discipline, focus, and a higher sense of identity. Now, how does chanting the Gayatri Mantra scientifically affect the brain? The Gayatri Mantra is one of the most powerful sound combinations in the Vedic tradition. Modern neuroacoustic studies show that its phonetic vibrations create resonance patterns in the auditory cortex and influence theta and alpha brain waves. Theta rhythms are associated with relaxation, memory consolidation, and intuition, while alpha rhythms induce calm alertness. When practitioners chant Om Bhurvasva with a steady breathing, the vagus nerve is stimulated, lowering cortisol and improving heart brain coherence. Functional MRI scans from research in India and the US revealed that chanting Gayatri Mantra activates the anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC, responsible for empathy and emotional regulation. This is why long term chanters report a reduced anxiety and enhanced cognitive clarity in children. Regular chanting improves phonetic awareness and strengthens working memory, which directly impacts academic performance for adults. The mantra acts as a stress buffer, optimizing neurotransmitter balance, particularly increasing levels of GABA and serotonin, both linked with mental well being. Now, what role does trikalsandhya play in brain rhythms? Yes, trikalsandhya, the morning, noon, and evening chanting of Gayatri Mantra, is essentially a circadian entrainment practice. Neuroscience today confirms that our brain functions in alignment with circadian rhythms regulated by the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN, in the hypothalamus. Regular Sandhya practice trains the brain to pause, breathe, and reset at critical points of the day. This aligns cortisol release in the morning, digestive efficiency at noon, and melatonin onset in the evening. Studies show that structured daily prayers enhance chronobiology, reducing sleep disorders and improving metabolic health. On the neurological side, pausing thrice daily for mantra chanting engages the parasympathetic nervous system, creating micro resets that reduce amygdala hyperactivity, stress reactivity. In long term practitioners, EEG studies indicate improved gamma coherence associated with attention and higher states of consciousness. Thus, Trikalsandhya is not superstition, it is a scientifically validated lifestyle design for optimizing brain rhythms. Now, what is the impact of Agnikaram or fire rituals on brain chemistry? Yes, Jagadav, Agnikaram involves offering samidas or wood sticks, ghee, and herbs into the sacred fire while chanting mantras. The process has dual benefits: environmental purification and internal neurochemical regulation. Research from environmental medicine indicates that burning specific herbs releases phytoncides and volatile oils with antibacterial and exhalatic properties. Inhaling these during yoga activates the olfactory bulb, which connects directly to the limbic system, influencing memory and emotion. Simultaneously, the rhythmic chanting increases dopamine release, fostering a sense of reward and motivation. The synchronized offering sound and smell create a multisensory integration, enhancing hippocampal plasticity. Studies have shown that people exposed to Agnihotra smoke had lowered blood pressure and better cognitive performance, likely due to reduced oxidative stress. Hence, Agnikaram is both a Vedic and neurochemical purification, calming the mind and energizing the body. Now, why are Gayatri Homas at the Pratapa Ganapati temple so impactful collectively? Collective chanting and fire offerings amplify the effects of individual practices through the principle of neural synchrony. Neuroscientists studying group chanting have documented that participants' brain waves tend to synchronize, a phenomenon called interbrain coherence. During Gayatri Homam in Pratapa Ganapati temple, hundreds of chanters recite in unison while offering ahutis. This creates powerful sound vibrations that entrain not only individual brain rhythms but also collective emotional states. Social neuroscience highlights that such synchrony increases oxytocin release, deepening feelings of unity and trust. Moreover, the shared inhalation of purified air enriched with antimicrobial volatiles during Homa improves the respiratory immune health. EEG studies on group meditators also show stronger alpha synchronization compared to solo practice. Therefore, Gayatri Homas function as mass neural harmonizers, uplifting individuals while creating a field effect that benefits the community at large. How does mantra chanting influence neuroplasticity? The neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to reorganize neural pathways in response to experience. Mantra chanting, being repetitive and rhythmic, enhances both synaptic plasticity and myelination of neural circuits. Repeated articulation of syllables like Om stimulates the motor cortex, Broca's area, and Wernicke's area, reinforcing speech and auditory circuits. Studies in neurotheology have found that daily mantra practice increases a gray matter density in the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. This correlates with better memory, executive functioning, and decision making. Gayatri Mantra, in particular, has a balance meter and vibration that resonates with the natural breath cycles. This rhythmic entrainment helps the brain form stronger Hebbian connections, neurons that wire together in long term chanters. This leads to reduced age related cognitive decline, showing that mantra chanting is a natural, non invasive tool for brain health and longevity. Now, what is the role of sound vibrations in brain coherence? Yes, Jagadev, sound is vibration, and vibration directly influences neural oscillations. Scientific research shows that specific frequencies can induce entrainment where brain waves synchronize with external rhythmic stimuli. Gayatri Mantra, chanted in its precise meter, produces vibrations sound 110 to 150 hertz, which align with the beneficial brainwave states. This leads to brain coherence, where different regions of the brain communicate more effectively. Coherence is linked with creativity, problem solving, and emotional stability. A study on Sanskrit chanting demonstrated increased gamma coherence, the highest frequency brainwaves tied to insight and expanded awareness. Furthermore, chanting aloud creates vibratory stimulation of the cranial nerves, particularly the vagus and trigeminal nerves, which regulate mood and autonomic balance. Thus, sound vibrations act as a tuning fork for the nervous system, aligning scattered energies into harmony. Now, how does early initiation into the practice help children's cognitive development? Children who undergo Upanayana and begin Gayatri chanting early receive significant cognitive benefits. Neuroscience confirms that early childhood is a critical period of synaptogenesis, the rapid formation of neural connections. Mantra chanting stimulates phonological processing, improving language acquisition and reading skills. Studies show that children trained in rhythmic recitation demonstrate stronger working memory and enhanced attention span. Moreover, structured practices like Trikal Sandhya help children build self discipline, which activates the prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO, responsible for planning and self control. Exposure to yagyas and humas also enriches sensory integration, as a combination of sound, smell, and ritual movement improves multisensory processing. Importantly, these practices also lower childhood anxiety by increasing parasympathetic tone. Hence, initiation is not about burning children with rituals, it is about giving them a scientifically designed lifestyle that optimizes brain development. Now, how do adults benefit in terms of stress regulation? The adults face chronic stress from work, relationships, and lifestyle. The Gayatri Mantra and Sandhya practices directly modulate the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal HPA axis, which governs stress response. Regular chanting reduces cortisol spikes and enhances resilience. A study published in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine found that mantra meditation increases heart rate variability, HRV, a marker of stress resilience and autonomic balance. Adults practicing these rituals also show improved amygdala regulation, meaning they respond less reactively to emotional triggers. The rhythmic breathing involved in chanting synchronizes the respiratory system with the nervous system, producing a calm, alert state. Over time, adults report sharper focus, reduced burnout, and better sleep, all linked with improved brain health. Scientifically, The shift is from a sympathetic fight or flight mode to a parasympathetic rest and digest mode, restoring balance to the entire nervous system. What about women's participation in these practices? Traditionally, women's role in Upanayana and Gayatri chanting was debated. However, under Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji's guidance, Art of Living has embraced inclusivity. Women equally receive initiation. Neuroscience validates this. Women show heightened mirror neuron system activity, making them particularly responsive to group rituals and chanting. Chanting Gayatri enhances hormonal balance as vagus nerve stimulation influences the hypothalamus and pituitary glands. This helps regulate menstrual cycles, reduce PMS symptoms, and ease menopausal transitions. Studies also show that mantra meditation reduces perceived stress in working women, improving productivity and emotional balance. For mothers, regular chanting influences children indirectly through epigenetic mechanisms. Lower maternal stress hormones positively shape a child's brain development. Thus, women's participation is not only culturally significant but also scientifically essential for family and community health. Now, how does chanting Gayatri Mantra affect memory and concentration? The memory and concentration are functions closely tied to the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. Chanting Gayatri Mantra, especially with the correct intonation, provides rhythmic stimulation that strengthens hippocampal neural circuits. Research in cognitive neuroscience indicates that repetitive auditory patterns improve long term potentiation, the LTP, the biological basis of memory. The mantra's structure 24 syllables in 3 lines acts like a mental training exercise for working memory, requiring precise recall of sequence and tone. In a concentration, chanting quiets the default mode network, reducing mind wandering and strengthens task positive networks that focus attention. A 2019 study on Sanskrit recitation found enhanced verbal memory and auditory recall among practitioners. Children in Art of Living Gurukul often show sharper learning abilities due to these effects. Thus, Gayatri chanting is like giving the brain a natural cognitive workout, sharpening both memory and concentration without external aids. Now, can Gayatri Mantra reduce anxiety and depression? Yes, there's a strong evidence that Gayatri Mantra practice lowers anxiety and depressive symptoms. The chant engages slow rhythmic breathing, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system via vagal stimulation. This reduces overactivation of the amygdala, the fear processing center. Neurochemical studies show that mantra meditation increases serotonin and dopamine while lowering cortisol, creating an antidepressant like effect. Clinical trials in India have shown reduced symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder after 40 days of daily Gayatri chanting. Moreover, chanting produces alpha brain waves, which are linked with relaxation and reduced rumination. The negative cycle of thoughts common in depression and art of living homas. Collective chanting creates a group feel of safety, further alleviating isolation, a major factor in depression. So, Gayatri Mantra is both an inner tool for neurochemical balance and a social tool for emotional upliftment. Now, how does the sound vibration influence the autonomic nervous system? The autonomic nervous system, the ANS, regulates vital functions like heart rate, respiration, and digestion. Sound vibrations from mantra chanting influence the system through the vagus nerve, which innervates both the heart and the gut. Chanting Gayatri Mantra with prolonged exhalation creates a respiratory sinus arrhythmia, a natural fluctuation in heart rate linked to vagal tone. High vagal tone correlates with resilience, emotional stability, and lower inflammation. Studies using HRV, the heart rate variability monitoring, show that mantra chanting increases HRV, meaning the body adapts better to stress. Additionally, the repetitive sound vibrations act as a form of auditory biofeedback, training the body to enter a parasympathetic state more easily. Thus, a Gayatri mantra is a natural regulator of the ANS, helping balance the accelerator or the sympathetic and brake or the parasympathetic systems for optimal health. Now, what impact do these practices have on sleep quality? Sleep is deeply connected to brain health. Many participants who practice Gayatri Mantra and Sandhya report improved sleep quality. Scientifically, chanting slows down brain activity into theta and delta waves, which are precursors to deep sleep. Gayatri chanting before bed reduces hyperarousal of the HPA axis, a key cause of insomnia. Research shows that mantra based meditation increases melatonin secretion, supporting natural sleep cycles. Recalls and they also contributes indirectly by regulating circadian rhythms, aligning the body's biological clock with natural light dark cycles. Fire rituals like evening Agnihotra release negative ions and phytoncides, which enhance relaxation and support sleep. In studies, those who engaged in daily chanting reported shorter sleep latency, falling asleep faster, and deeper restorative sleep. Therefore, these practices offer a holistic and drug free method for combating modern sleep disorders. Do these practices support emotional regulation? Absolutely. Emotional regulation is a function of the prefrontal cortex's ability to modulate the amygdala. Chanting Gayatri Mantra activates the anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC, a region associated with empathy, compassion, and emotional control. This increases emotional resilience, allowing practitioners to face challenges without overreaction. Trikal Sandhya, with its regular intervals, creates a pause in emotional turbulence. Similar to a cognitive reset button, Agni Karam also plays a role. By engaging multiple senses like sound, sight, smell, it diverts the brain away from negative emotional loops and restores balance. Research on mantra meditation shows reduced emotional reactivity and higher scores in emotional intelligence EQ tests. Participants in art of living programs often report being less angry, more patient, and more empathetic after consistent practice. This is not accidental, it is rooted in measurable brain changes. Now, how do homas and yagyas influence collective brain states? Homas are collective rituals where many people chant and offer together. Neuroscience recognizes a phenomenon called collective coherence or entrainment, where brain waves of individuals in a group synchronize. Studies on group meditation show that participants' alpha and theta waves align, creating a shared calm field during Gayatri Homas at Pratapa temple. This effect multiplies. The collective chanting entrains brain rhythms, while the sacred fire produces a sensory anchor. Collective practices also enhance oxytocin release, boosting trust and social bonding. In psychology, this is termed emotional contagion. Positive states spread rapidly in a group. Scientifically, this is why large scale homas leave participants feeling lighter and more connected, not just spiritually but neurologically. The field effect even influences non participants nearby, as shown in studies where crime rates dropped during group meditation sessions in cities. Can Gayatri Mantra enhance creativity? Yes, creativity is linked to the brain's ability to integrate different regions, logical, emotional, and intuitive. Chanting Gayatri Mantra induces alpha theta coupling, a brain state associated with flow and creativity. Research shows that meditative chanting increases activity in the default mode network, where imagination and associative thinking occur. Simultaneously, it reduces stress in the prefrontal cortex, which often blocks creative flow when overactive. Artists, writers, and musicians in the art of living community often report breakthroughs after homas or deep mantra chanting. The mantra's rhythm creates a state of diffuse attention where ideas connect more freely. This aligns with His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji's observation. When the mind is calm, creativity blossoms. Scientifically, Gayatri chanting optimizes brain states for divergent thinking, the foundation of creativity. Now, how do these practices influence brain aging and neurodegeneration? Jagradev, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's are linked with oxidative stress, inflammation, and loss of synaptic plasticity. Chanting Gayatri Mantra combats these on multiple fronts. First, it reduces chronic stress and lowers cortisol, which in excess damages hippocampal neurons. Second, mantra chanting increases BDNF, the brain derived neurotrophic factor, which supports neuron survival and growth. A 2021 study showed that meditation based chanting preserved gray matter in aging brains. Fire rituals also produce antioxidants in the atmosphere, reducing oxidative stress. Additionally, rhythmic chanting maintains cognitive research and reserve the brain's resilience against aging. Elderly practitioners in art of living report sharper memory, sustained attention, and reduced cognitive decline. Thus, Gayatri Mantra is not only a spiritual tool but also a neuroprotective lifestyle intervention for brain health across lifespan. What about the role of breath during mantra chanting? Breath is the bridge between body and mind. Gayatri mantra chanting is done in rhythm with controlled breathing. Inhale, exhale, chant. This synchronizes the respiratory and cardiovascular systems, optimizing oxygen delivery to the brain. Slow rhythmic breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering blood pressure and heart rate. On a neurological level, breath linked chanting enhances respiratory neural coupling, which stabilizes brain oscillation. Studies in pranayama and mantra chanting show increased cerebral blood flow, particularly in the prefrontal cortex and temporal lobes, enhancing cognition. Moreover, breath awareness during chanting improves interoception, the brain's sense of internal body states. This strengthens self awareness and emotional regulation. Hence, chanting is not just vocal, it is a holistic breath brain practice that enhances resilience. Now, how does initiation into these practices impact identity and self esteem? Jagadev, Upanayana and mantra chanting give individuals a sense of sacred identity, belonging to a lineage of seekers. Psychologically, this strengthens the self concept and anchor against modern challenges of confusion and low self esteem. Neuroscience shows that rituals reinforce activity in the medial prefrontal cortex associated with self referential processing. When children and adults are told you are initiated into Gayatri, the mantra of Vedas and wisdom, it creates a neuropsychological imprint of dignity and purpose. This is why practitioners often carry themselves with more confidence. Group homas further reinforce social identity, reducing loneliness and promoting belongingness. In positive psychology, strong identity and community are buffers against depression and anxiety. Thus, the Vedic initiation practices are not about exclusion, they are tools to give the brain a healthy sense of self worth and belonging in a supportive community. How does Gayatri Mantra influence children's academic performance? The children who chant the Gayatri Mantra regularly show improvements in attention span, working memory, and recall speed, all of which are core to academic success. The rhythmic repetition strengthens the phonological loop, a component of working memory essential for reading and language learning. Research in India has demonstrated that children trained in mantra recitation scored significantly higher in reading comprehension and rhythmatic tasks. Neuroimaging studies suggest that chanting stimulates the left inferior frontal gyrus, the Broca's area responsible for articulation and language fluency. The mantra's 24 syllable structure also trains sequential memory, which helps in mathematics and logical reasoning. Additionally, the calming effect of chanting reduces test anxiety by lowering cortisol levels, giving children better performances under pressure. In Artafilm Gurukul, many children demonstrate above average academic abilities, partly due to this daily mental training. Thus, Gayatri is not just a prayer, it's a scientifically validated cognitive enhancer. Do these practices improve decision making abilities? Yes, Jagger, the decision making depends heavily on the prefrontal cortex, which integrates logic, emotion, and intuition. Gayatri chanting improves the prefrontal cortex function by increasing cortical thickness in meditators, as shown in MRI studies. This strengthens executive functions like planning, risk assessment, and impulse control. Trickles on the pausing by pausing thrice a day allows the brain to disengage from autopilot behavior and reflect before acting. This practice enhances cognitive flexibility, enabling better choices in changing situations. Fire rituals like Agni Karyam also foster a state of mindful presence, training the mind to weigh long term benefits over short term impulses. In practical terms, practitioners often report clearer decision making in both personal and professional contexts. Scientifically, this is due to improved dopaminergic balance in the frontal lobe, which optimizes motivation and judgment. Thus, these Vedic practices serve as powerful tools for sharpening life decisions. Now, how do these mantra practices help with attention deficit disorders? Yes, yeah, the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or the ADHD is linked with dysregulation in the dopamine system and poor prefrontal control. Mantra chanting, being rhythmic and structured, acts as a natural attention training exercise. Research shows that repetitive sounds increase sustained attention by engaging the anterior cingulate cortex, which monitors focus. For children with ADHD, chanting Gayatri Mantra creates predictable auditory and motor patterns, helping stabilize their scattered attention. Breathing synchronization further reduces hyperactivity by calming the sympathetic nervous system. Small scale clinical studies have shown that mantra meditation reduces ADHD symptoms and improves classroom behavior. In art of living programs, teachers observe that children who chant regularly become more disciplined and attentive. Scientifically, chanting serves as a form of neurofeedback, training the brain to maintain focus for longer durations. Hence, it is a non pharmacological tool to complement ADHD management. Can chanting influence the immune system? Yes, Jagat, chanting Gayatri Mantra has measurable effects on the immune system. Stress is a major suppressor of immunity, and mantra chanting lowers cortisol, thereby restoring immune balance. Research in psychoneuroimmunology shows that meditative chanting increases levels of immunoglobulin, the AIgA, a frontline antibody in mucosal defense. It also boosts the activity of natural killer, the NK cells, which fight infections and cancer cells. The vibrations produced during chanting stimulate the vagus nerve, which activates the cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathway, reducing harmful inflammation. Fire rituals contribute by purifying air and releasing antimicrobial compounds, which indirectly reduces pathogen exposure. Participants in long-term HOMA practices report fewer respiratory illnesses, which aligns with these findings. Thus, chanting is not merely spiritual, it is a scientifically proven method to strengthen immunity and overall resilience of the body. Now, how do the Gayatri practices support emotional resilience in teenagers? Yes, Jagadev, teenagers face unique challenges, identity crisis, peer pressure, and academic stress. Chanting Gayatri mantra provides them with an anchor of stability. Neurodevelopmental studies show that adolescence is a period of a synaptic pruning where the brain refines its networks. Regular chanting strengthens pathways in the prefrontal cortex and limbic system, enhancing emotional control. The mantra's calming effect reduces overactivity in the amygdala, which is often heightened in teenagers. This results in fewer mood swings and greater resilience against peer pressure. In art-affirming programs, teens practicing Sandhya report higher self-confidence and less susceptibility to negative influences. Psychologically, belonging to a tradition and group chanting in homas also provides a sense of community, reducing isolation. Hence, Gayatri practices act as both a neurobiological stabilizer and a social emotional support system for teenagers. Now, what is the effect of fire rituals on air quality and brain health? Scientific analysis of yagya smoke has shown that burning herbs like ghee, camphor, and medicinal woods releases antimicrobial volatiles that purify the air. Studies from environmental science departments in India demonstrated significant reduction in airborne bacteria after yagyas. For the brain, cleaner air means reduced oxidative stress and better oxygen availability, which enhances cognitive function. Inhaling mild phytonicides from burning herbs activates the olfactory system, stimulating the limbic brain and uplifting mood. Negative ions generated during fire rituals are known to improve serotonin levels and reduce depression. This Agni creates a dual benefit: environmental purification and neurochemical upliftment. Participants often report clearer thinking and reduced headaches after attending homas. Science validates this. Purified air, rich in negative ions, supports hippocampal neurogenesis and overall brain vitality. Can mantra chanting improve pain tolerance? Yes, Jagger, the pain perception is modulated by the brain's anterior cingulate cortex and periaqueductal ray, both influenced by chanting and meditation. Studies have shown that repetitive chanting increases endorphin release, the body's natural painkillers. Chanting also engages the descending pain modulation system, which reduces the pain signals reaching the brain. Functional MRI studies reveal that mantra repetition lowers activity in brain regions that amplify pain perception in art-affirming programs. People with chronic pain conditions often report relief after consistent chanting and Homa participation. The rhythmic breathing component enhances oxygen delivery and reduces muscular tension, further lowering pain. Psychologically, chanting shifts attention away from pain towards a sense of transcendence, activating placebo like mechanisms rooted in real neurobiology. Thus, Gayatri Mantra is an effective complementary tool for pain management. How do these practices impact the endocrine system? Yes, Jagadiv, the endocrine system regulates hormones and stress disrupts its balance. Chanting Gayatri Mantra reduces cortisol, restoring normal function of the HPA axis. Vagal stimulation from chanting improves regulation of the thyroid gland and pancreas, aiding in metabolism and glucose control. Women practicing Gayatri regularly report more balanced menstrual cycles, indicating influence on the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. Research also shows increased secretion of oxytocin, enhancing trust and emotional bonding. Melatonin secretion improves sleep and cellular repair. In clinical observations, chanting has helped regulate blood sugar in diabetics and reduce hypertension. Scientifically, these effects are linked to reduced stress load on endocrine organs and improved autonomic balance. Thus, mantra and homa practices act as natural endocrine harmonizers. How do collective rituals reduce social stress? Jacob, humans are social beings and social stress is a major burden on mental health. Collective rituals like Gayatri Homas reduce social stress through synchrony and belongingness. When people chant together, brain rhythms align, fostering empathy and reducing feelings of isolation. Oxytocin release during group chanting increases trust and bonding. Sociological studies show that shared rituals reduce intergroup conflict and promote cooperation. In art of living, Gayatri must bring together people from all castes, genders, and backgrounds, breaking barriers and creating inclusivity. The social support acts as a buffer against stress related disorders like anxiety and depression. Neuroscience confirms that a sense of belonging reduces activity in the brain's main pain matrix, which processes social rejection. Hence, collective rituals are powerful antidotes to loneliness and social anxiety. Can Gayatri Mantra influence brain lateralization? Yes, Jagadav, chanting impacts both hemispheres of the brain. The left hemisphere processes language and rhythm, while the right hemisphere processes melody and holistic patterns. Gayatri Mantra, being structured yet melodic, engages both sides simultaneously. EEG studies on Sanskrit chanting show balanced activation across hemispheres, leading to improved hemispheric coherence. This balance enhances problem solving, creativity, and emotional stability. Children who chant regularly show better bilateral coordination in tasks like music and mathematics. For adults, this integration reduces dominance of analytical thinking alone, allowing intuitive insights. His Holiness Gurudev Shishra Vishakti often says, mantra harmonizes both logic and intuition. Neuroscience validates this. Gayatri chanting synchronizes corpus callosum activity, strengthening communication between hemispheres. Thus, it is a whole brain integrated practice. Now, how does the repetition of Gayatri Mantra strengthen long term memory? Jagadiv, repetition is the mother of learning. Chanting the Gayatri Mantra regularly provides rhythmic, repeated sound input to the brain. Neuroscientists call this spaced repetition, which is known to strengthen synaptic connections in the hippocampus, the center of memory. Over time, this repetition consolidates short term impressions into long term memory. In fact, studies on Sanskrit chanting show that children who practice memorization or mantras develop exceptional verbal memory and recall abilities. The Gayatri mantra, with its carefully measured 24 syllables, enhances both auditory memory and working memory. This is especially relevant in the modern digital age where attention spans are shrinking. Chanting serves as a natural way to train the brain to retain, recall, and reproduce knowledge with clarity. Now, what effect does Agni Karam have on group brain coherence during rituals? Jagadav, rituals and Agni Karam is always done collectively with chanting of mantras around the sacred fire. Studies on group chanting and synchronized ritual activities show that researchers call interbrain synchrony EEG recordings reveal that when people chant or perform a ritual together, their brain waves actually start to align. This leads to collective calmness, reduced anxiety, and a feeling of unity. The fire adds another dimension, focusing attention on its steady flame, acts like a visual anchor, deepening the meditative state. The rhythmic sound of mantra, combined with the sensory input of fire, smoke, and fragrance, creates a multisensory experience that synchronizes multiple brains into one field of harmony. This explains why participants often feel an unexplainable joy and connection during homas. Now, how does the trichalsandhya improve emotional regulation in adolescence? Adolescence is a turbulent phase with emotional swings caused by hormonal changes. Trichalsandhya acts like an emotional anchor. The Gayatri mantra stimulates the parasympathetic activity, reducing impulsivity and anxiety. In a study on mantra meditation among adolescents, participants showed better regulation of the amygdala, the brain's emotional center. The breathing patterns embedded in Sandhya practice also enhance vagal tone, which is directly linked to emotional stability. By training young minds to pause thrice a day, reflect, chant, and breathe, Sandhya becomes a natural antidote to mood swings, aggression, and peer pressure. It's like providing adolescents with an emotional compass that keeps them balanced amidst daily storms. Now, what role do Sanskrit vibrations play in cognitive sharpness? Jagadev, Sanskrit is a vibrationally precise language. Each syllable carries a frequency that stimulates specific parts of the brain. MRI studies on Sanskrit Pandit show that chanting activates multiple brain regions simultaneously, especially those linked to memory and reasoning. Unlike casual speech, Sanskrit mantra chanting demands accuracy of pronunciation with control and rhythm. This trains the brain to process a complex auditory motor tasks, sharpening overall cognition. For children and adults, chanting the Gayatri Mantra daily keeps the brain agile. prevents a cognitive dullness, and even reduces risk of age-related decline. In that sense, Sanskrit is not just a language but a neurogym for the mind. Now, how does daily Gayatri Homa affect stress hormone cortisol? Fire rituals are not just symbolic, they have measurable biochemical effects. Research on yajnas and homa show that participants experience significant drops in cortisol levels after the ritual. This is because chanting combined with rhythmic breathing activates the relaxation response, while the sensory inputs of the homa, sight of fire, smell of herbs, and collective chanting engage the parasympathetic nervous system. Over time, reduced cortisol translates into lower stress, better immune function, and improved sleep quality. That is why participants in the annual Gayatri Homa at the Pratap Ganapati temple report deep calmness lasting for days afterward. The ritual acts as a reset button for the brain's stress systems. Now, can Gayatri Mantra chanting improve sleep quality? Jagadev, yes, very much. Sleep is regulated by melatonin, a hormone released by the pineal gland. Chanting the Gayatri mantra before bed slows down the mind, shifts the brain from beta active waves to alpha and theta relaxed waves, and prepares the system for deep sleep. Several meditation studies confirm improved sleep latency and longer slow wave sleep after mantra chanting, since the Gayatri mantra directly stimulates the pineal gland region through vibration. It helps regulate circadian rhythms. Regular chanters often report that their sleep becomes deeper, more refreshing, and they wake up with the clarity instead of lethargy. This is essential for brain recovery and memory consolidation. How does Upanayam prepare the brain for disciplined learning? Jagadev, the Upanayam is more than just wearing a sacred thread. It is symbolic of beginning a life of disciplined learning. From a neurological perspective, the ceremony creates a mental shift. By being initiated into Gayatri Mantra and Sandhya, the child's brain is oriented towards regularity, focus, and self regulation. Neuroscience calls this executive function development. Practices like mantra chanting and Agnikadam improve attention span, working memory, and inhibitory control, all critical for academic and life success. In ancient Gurukulas, this was why Upanayana was a threshold to higher education. Today, in Arthavan Gurukul, this continues equipping children with the mental discipline rooted in being silence. Now, what is the scientific link between mantra chanting and neuroplasticity? The neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to rewire itself based on experience. Chanting the Gayatri mantra repetitively activates auditory, motor, and memory circuits. Each repetition strengthens synaptic connections, while the rhythm entrains neural oscillations. Over time, this creates new patterns of resilience and calmness. In fact, studies on meditation practitioners show increased cortical thickness in areas responsible for attention and sensory processing. Thus, mantra chanting literally reshapes the brain. For individuals under stress or recovering from trauma, Gayatri mantra practice provides a healthy neuroplastic adaptation, moving from scattered, anxious brain patterns to focused, peaceful ones. Now, how do Gayatri Homas impact collective social bonding and brain chemistry? The rituals serve both spiritual and social purposes. Gayatri Homas create a shared field where everyone chants, breathes, and prays together. Social neuroscience shows that shared rituals increase oxytocin levels, the bonding hormone. This leads to greater trust, empathy, and social cooperation. In brain terms, oxytocin modulates the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, reducing fear and increasing compassion. That is why homas create an atmosphere of togetherness transcending caste, age, or gender. At the Pratap Ganapati temple, families who participate regularly report not just spiritual upliftment but also stronger family harmony and community bonds. How does the Gayatri mantra chanting support brain detoxification during sleep? Jagadish, the brain has a glymphatic system which clears toxins during deep sleep, but stress and irregular lifestyle interfere with this detox process by calming the nervous system and enhancing slow wave sleep. Gayatri mantra chanting indirectly boosts the lymphatic function. This means harmful proteins like beta amyloid associated with Alzheimer's are more efficiently cleared out. Hence, the regular chanters enjoy not only peace of mind but also reduce risk of neurodegenerative diseases. The science is clear. Spiritual practices like mantra chanting support a body's most advanced self-cleaning systems, keeping the brain young and healthy for decades. Now, how does chanting enhance focus in children with ADHD? Jagadav, ADHD is characterized by restlessness, poor focus, and impulsivity. Research on mantra meditation shows that rhythmic chanting helps regulate the default mode network, the DMN, which is often hyperactive in ADHD children. Gayatri mantra chanting involves auditory input, controlled breathing, and repetition, all of which stabilize attention. The vibrations activate frontal brain regions linked with impulse control, while rhythmic breathing reduces hyperarousal. Teachers in Gurukul who guide ADHD diagnosed children report better concentration in classes, reduced irritability, and calmer behavior after consistent chanting practice. While not a replacement for therapy, it acts as a natural side effect. Free cognitive support. Now, what role does Gayatri Mantra play in balancing the left and right brain hemispheres? Jagadav, the mantra is perfectly symmetrical in its meter and sound. Chanting it engages both logical sequencing, the left hemisphere, and holistic sound patterns, the right hemisphere. Studies using EEG scans of mantra chanters show greater hemispheric coherence, meaning the two halves of the brain communicate more efficiently. This balance translates to better problem solving, creativity, and emotional intelligence. In ancient India, sages intuited this balance, which modern neuroscience now validates. This chanting Gayatri mantra daily ensures that the brain doesn't get skewed toward just logic or just emotion. It maintains a harmony between the two. Now, how does the Agni Karam impact respiratory health and its connection to the brain? Jagadav, during Agni Karam, herbs like ghee, samita, or the wood, and the medicinal leaves are offered into the fire. Studies have found that these release volatile compounds with antimicrobial and anti inflammatory properties. Breathing this purified air improves the lung function. Since oxygen is the brain's primary fuel, enhanced respiratory efficiency translates directly to sharper cognition and reduced brain fatigue. Moreover, the deep breathing during mantra chanting oxygenates the brain, boosting focus and mental clarity. Thus, amygdala and Agni-karam combines environmental purification with direct respiratory and neurological benefits. Now, how do the Gayatri practices influence the autonomic nervous system? Together, the autonomic nervous system, the ANS, has two branches: sympathetic fight or flight and parasympathetic rest and digest. Stress often overactivates the sympathetic side. Chanting Gayatri Mantra, doing Trikal Sandhya, and performing Agni Karam stimulate the vagus nerve, strengthening parasympathetic activity. Heart rate slows, digestion improves, and the mind calms. EEG studies show increased alpha waves linked with relaxed alertness. Over time, these practices retrain the ANS to maintain balance, preventing chronic stress, hypertension, and anxiety disorders. Essentially, they rewire the body's stress handling system at its root. Now, what is the effect of a Gayatri Homas on collective emotional resilience? The collective chanting and rituals create a shared field of emotional strength. When people gather for Gayatri Homa, they bring their personal challenges, but through chanting, they dissolve them in collective prayer. Neuroscience shows that shared emotional experiences increase resilience through mirror neuron activation. People absorb each other's calmness. Group chanting boosts serotonin, which uplifts mood and prevents depression. Thus, annual Gayatri Homas at the Pratapa Ganpati temple serves as large-scale community healing sessions where participants emerge mentally lighter and more emotionally resilient. Now, how does the chanting prevent age-related cognitive decline? The regular mantra chanting keeps the brain exercised, just as physical exercise prevents muscle degeneration. Chanting prevents neuronal atrophy. Studies on long-term meditators show thicker gray matter in regions associated with attention and memory, even in older age. Chanting improves blood circulation, oxygenation, and neuroplasticity, all key to preventing dementia and Alzheimer's. Senior citizens in art of living programs often report a sharper memory, better recall of names and events, and reduced anxiety. Scientifically, chanting Gayatri Mantra is like giving the brain a daily cognitive workout, slowing down aging. Now, can Gayatri Mantra chanting improve decision making in professionals? Yes, decision making depends on prefrontal cortex functioning, which is often impaired by stress. Chanting slows down the overactive amygdala, fear center, and activates the prefrontal cortex, enabling rational, balanced decisions. Professionals practicing daily Sandhya often share that they feel more centered and less reactive at work. For leaders, it creates space between stimulus and response, which is crucial for wise decision making. The mantra becomes not just a spiritual practice but a cognitive tool for clarity in the corporate and social world. Now, how does the tricals and the align circadian rhythms with the brain efficiency? Jagadhar Sandhya is performed at sunrise, noon, and sunset, the three natural energy junctions of the day. Modern chronobiology confirms that aligning activates with circadian rhythms, improves brain performance. Morning chanting boosts cortisol, awakening response, good stress, and enhancing alertness. Noon chanting prevents post-lunch dips in energy by resetting attention. Evening chanting lowers arousal, preparing the brain for rest. Thus, Sandhya perfectly tunes human neurobiology with nature's cycles, ensuring sustained efficiency and health. Now, how do children initiated into Upanyanam show different brain development patterns? Jagdev, children initiated early into Upanyanam are trained in discipline, chanting, and ritual. Brain imaging studies show that children engaged in structured mantra practice have stronger connectivity between the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. This translates to better memory, concentration, and emotional control. Parents in the Gurukul often share that their children display unusual calmness, quick learning, and less screen dependency. The sacred thread symbolizes responsibility, but the brain science shows it is actually neurodevelopmental training disguised as ritual. Now, in summary, how do these practices collectively enhance brain health? Jagadav, Upanayanam, Gayatri Mantra, Trikal Sandhya, Agnikaram, and Humas together form a holistic neurological training system. Mantra chanting entrains brain rhythms, Agnikaram purifies the environment and enhances oxygenation, Sandhya aligns circadian biology, and Humas create collective synchrony. Together, they regulate neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and the GABA, balancing the autonomic nervous system and foster neuroplasticity. This results in sharper cognition, emotional balance, stress resilience, and prevention of cognitive decline. What ancient sages prescribed intuitively, modern neuroscience is now validating. These practices are not mere rituals but advanced neuroscientific tools for total brain health and human flourishing. Jagadev.